We spoke of one miserably unfunny Greg, and now we just go to plain old miserable Greg. Although I will say, this is a moment for Greg. This is a dream for Greg Kelly. Same show, he doesn't know this at the time in this clip anyways. But this is not on Newsmax's Rumble channel. Oh no. This is not on Newsmax's YouTube channel. No. This is not on Greg Kelly's private channel on either one. No. This is on the verified Rumble channel of one Donald Jerk-Off Trump. That is correct. More views than any Greg video on Rumble because Don is serving it up to him. This will probably have a lot. Oh,
Mike Pence.
No ad. Somebody in Trump land forgot to throw a switch. And now why is he posting it? Because Greg Kelly is attacking Mike Pence for being insufficiently loyal to Papa. Why you got not like Papa? Oh, Papa. Papa love me.
Pence has a new book. It's called So Help Me God by Mike.
Oh, and it's upsetting that Greg even has to say like Christian-y sounding sentences and Mike Pence in the same. It's just sad. And by the way, there's no way he's not on church steps for that photo.
Pence. And I am not impressed with his new book. In fact...
Oh, God. And you thought his Trump impersonation was bad.
It's written as if Mike Pence were not the former vice president, but perhaps a junior staff member on the January 6th committee.
Dude, he was actually there. They built the gallows to hang him. People walked in there saying, hang Mike Pence. Trump sent them. Fuck you. Look, the only reason Greg Kelly can't understand what Mike Pence went through on January 6th is because nobody's looking for Greg Kelly. Like, nobody even shows up with a subpoena. Nobody bothers. Nobody comes to the Newsmax headquarters going, like to see Greg Kelly, without somebody bursting out laughing. Who you're here really to see? I'm here to see this. Eric Bolling. I knew it.
Telling you, this guy is high on his own supply.
Yes. Always been a big dope fiend, that Mike Pence.
Self-righteous and self-serving.
I can't. How do we not enjoy them eating their own?
Take a look at this.
And I made it clear to the president in the lead up to that tragic day in January that I believed my oath to the Constitution that ended with a prayer, so help me God, would require me to certify the election, an election that we had lost.
Trump does not lose. He does not lose. You cannot say. You do not say Trump and lose in the same sentence.
Well, he told that to the president. That's in the book. But he did not tell that to the American people.
Yeah, he did. Trump's not the only person who got a copy of the book. I think it's available for sale, if I'm not mistaken.
In fact, he teased the American people that he was perhaps prepared to do something else on January 6th.
Oh, he was teasing us. Well, why didn't I got all excited? Why didn't you? Oh, mercy. He did this. You're telling me right now that Mike Pence was being a tease on January 4th. He was teasing us. Was it a little tickle tease, or was he just kind of waving at us through the window? He was teasing us.
And he wasn't so sure that we had lost the election.
Lost.
This moment on January 4th is not in the book for some reason. Take a look.
Yeah, a lot of shit happened on the 5th and 6th that probably. But let's hear it.
I know we all got our doubts about the last election. And I want to assure you, I share the concerns of millions of Americans about voting irregularities. And I promise you, come this Wednesday, we'll have our day in Congress. We'll hear the objections. We'll hear the evidence.
See what he's doing? He's being all things to all people
like somebody Trump would pick.
Typical politician, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do.
Right, but he's got to make sure that these people feel heard or they're going to fucking kill him. He's trying to stave off the murderous rage that is headed his way.
Maybe who could get the American.
Maybe, perhaps. I agree, perhaps.
He's being all things to all people like a typical politician, right? He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe who could get the American people.
Maybe. I think it's time we talk about Greg's age. Obviously, I mean, if we're going to hold Biden to this standard, I think it's only fair that if this is happening to someone as young as Greg, it clearly means he's got a brain cloud. Yeah, there's a dark piece of tissue running right between both halves of the brain. Now, it has no symptoms, but it's very painful.
Ready for that.
Hooga. I need to hear that again. Sorry.
To all people like a typical politician, right? He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do.
Here it comes.
Maybe who could get the American people.
Maybe. Please tell me there's an egg on his seat right now. One more time.
He's being all things to all people like a typical politician, right? He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do.
Totally.
Maybe who could get the American people ready for that, especially those of us who thought under the Constitution.
That one gets sweeter the more I hear it. Dr. Huffar. Yeah, hookah? Is that what he's saying? Hookaka? Somebody break it down.
He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe who could get the American.
Oh, God. It just gets worse.
He's being all things to all people like a typical politician, right? He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe who could get the American people ready for.
Oh, God. One more, I swear I'll move
all
on.
Things to all people like a typical politician, right? He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe who could get the American people ready for that, especially those of us.
Oh, God, it gets better every time. You know why? You know why it gets better every time? Is because of the sort of braggadocious energy he has in the sentence previous, where he's like, I'm nailing this, bitch. And he just face plants. Watch this again. Watch the sentence right before is killing me now.
Politician, right?
This one.
He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe who could get the American people.
See what I mean? He's just like all full of himself, and then he just rakes it. Oh my God. Oh God. He's still making the face. I froze it right when he's. Oh, God. All right, I'm okay. Oh, shit. Oh, God. That one, I was not expecting that one. I was, one more time? All right, one more time. You guys are just trying to kill me at this point.
He's being all things to all people like a typical politician, right? He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe who could get the American people ready for that.
Oh, God. Oh, God, it hurts. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh, I squeak all the time when they get me. Oh, it's good. Oh, thank you, Greg. Your misery brings us so much joy. Oh, shit. I'm not. I'll keep it. All right. I just
things
yeah.
to all people like a typical politician, right?
All right,
He's
moving
already
right
made
there.
up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe he could get the American people ready for that.
It works every time. Like, it never gets old. Usually there's some sort of fade. You can only see it like 3 or 4 times. And this. Oh God. Oh yeah, we do need an audio drop from this one. Oh, son of a bitch. That's his O face. Is that what you're saying, Gambit? Oh shit. All right, last time. I'm sorry. Well, I gotta.
To all people like a typical politician, right?
I can't.
He's already made up his mind about what he's going to do. Maybe he could get the American people ready for that, especially those of us who thought under the Constitution he had greater discretion. But no, he created the illusion that something else would happen.
Yeah, something like a.
So, on January 6th, he goes to the Capitol. And all these people, right, really
These fucking people.
anxious, hoping
Anxious.
that he'll exercise his power, not to overturn the election, by the way.
Hey, shithead. He did allow for that. It wasn't, they were heard. They were in the process. But he didn't stop the count from happening. He started doing exactly what he said in that clip. He was allowing the Ted Cruzes of the Senate to answer what the Republicans in the House had said and have their thing heard. The fucking riot started before they could finish the process. He didn't send it back to the states. That's what they were hoping for. He didn't say that. But there is one, I suppose, issue with my argument, and that's that Greg is a moron and incapable of grasping the English language, even if he just sees it in a clip. I think he caught it from Bongholio. It's spreading.
But to have the states double check these electoral votes.
No. You don't double check the electoral votes. If you lost in the recount multiple times and you lost in the courts, the count stands.
Because a lot of us had valid concerns.
No, you didn't. First of all, not a lot of you. A shitty, loud, super minority of people who were like, ultra maggots thought, oh my God, he couldn't possibly lose. It's impossible.
About how they were derived. All right?
How they were derived. Stop deriving your votes the way you do, American people.
So he drives by all these people, and what does he say about them? This is in the book, the audio version.
I turned to my daughter and said with a sigh, God bless those people. They're going to be so disappointed.
They're going to be so disappointed.
Yeah, because he'll let their argument be heard, but there's no there. Yes, they're going to be disappointed. Of course they're going to be disappointed. They voted for Donald Trump.
Well, why didn't he put the word out earlier? That might have helped diffuse things, right?
No. It might have gotten him assassinated in the Oval Office.
Maybe. I think it was worth a shot.
Yeah, well, Greg, we trust you. You're a guy with an important job and an important time slot. Well, you had an important time slot until they gave it to Greta Van Susteren.
Straight with the American people. And then there's this from this morning.
Not this morning.
As I said more than a year ago, there's maybe no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president.
And that's not what Professor Eastman or Rudy Giuliani were talking about.
Yes. Yes, they were, because they were setting up fake electors so that he would send them back to the states. They'd already have the fake electors lined up. And the idea is that those people would just slide through, fill in those electoral votes. It would throw to Trump. And by the time anybody went to look, it was already over and he'd already been sworn in. There's nothing you can do about it. Write it out.
Let me put it to you this way. All right.
You're not allowed to put it to me anyway, Greg Kelly.
Right, the electoral votes as they were delivered to the Capitol. Now, let's just do a hypothetical here.
Okay. You're a woman. All right, start there.
Those electoral votes were certified in state capitals. What if, and this is a hypothetical,
What if
didn't happen, but what if
it didn't happen?
Found out that legislators who certified the electoral votes in, say, state capital Harrisburg were taken hostage, or some kid's child was kidnapped, and if you don't change the electoral votes, I'm going to do the unthinkable here, so you better do it and don't tell anybody. Well, the votes are delivered, and then...
Hi, dipshit. The legislatures don't pick the electoral votes based on how they read the vote of the people. It's done numerically now, fuckstick. Nobody could do that. As a matter of fact, they took that element of power out of it to avoid that precisely. You fucking dipshit. While you're at it, why don't you just say it's in 1788?
Word of that gets out. The kid's safe, everything's okay, but the electoral votes say one thing. But
yeah, again, this hypothetical is fucking hysterical.
They were derived under duress.
Is Mike Pence just going to say, one man does not have the authority to do anything here?
No,
Yes, because in that stupid hypothetical, that would be the kidnapper. Stupid.
Send them back to the state, figure it out, do it over again.
Do it over again. The whole election because somebody was kidnapped. They're being held hostage. Did they write down how many votes were? Yeah. It's all been filed and all that stuff. They certified it weeks ago. Oh, okay. So we just have to have a placeholder until we get the actual documents? Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll count the votes.
This part, by the way, is ceremonial. The actual counting of the paper votes, the Electoral College, because we already know how many there are, because this is not 1872.
Under the Electoral Count Act of 1887, we believe he had that discretion.
Yes. But then back then, you could hold up the entire process with 6 muskets.
But Mike Pence is
is planning on running for president.
Full of himself to actually approach the issue with an open mind.
Yeah, and nothing is worse than a politician who's full of himself. You know what I mean? And there's nothing Greg hates worse.
Some great lawyers made the case, but...
They did? I thought it was just Eastman and Giuliani.
Mike had his mind all made up, and listen to what he says about them now.
What a fucking bastard. How he treats Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood.
Repeating the argument made by the crank lawyers standing just off stage.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. He means Sidney Powell and Eastman, and yeah, they're all fucking lunatics.
Crank lawyers.
Yeah. I think that gives them too much credit. I mean, I'm sure they view themselves as powder cocaine lawyers.
Crank lawyers.
Yeah. Crackpot, I would go with.
Crank lawyers?
Yes, he said crank lawyers. We all heard him say crank lawyers.
No. John Eastman is a great lawyer.
He's a shit cowboy.
Constitutional professor who, by the way, went to the University of Chicago Law School. Now, quite frankly, I don't care where you went to college.
Apparently you do, because if it either matters or it doesn't, fuckstick.
But in the legal community, they really, really find this stuff significant, okay?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I was on a thing, like he smokes this kind of cigars. Like, lawyers love those kind of cigars. So, I mean...
How about Rudy Giuliani? Crank lawyer, according...
Yes, he's been disbarred, stupid.
To Mike Pence. NYU School of Law, number...
Oh, so it's going down. Where'd Linwood go to? We're going to 37?
7 in the nation, in addition to be one of the top prosecutors in the history of this country. And...
citation needed. Clearing out the Italian mob so the Russians and the Chinese can move in. Not really a legal strategy so much as a good payout scheme that'll help you later.
A former number 3 official, I think, in the Reagan Justice Department. Mike Pence, he's a lawyer. He went to a place called McKinney School of Law. I never heard of it. And it's number 98 in the nation. He wasn't too in demand as a lawyer. That's possibly why he did a lot of local radio in...
He basically did what you do, Greg. He just ended up vice president.
Indiana and not practicing too much law. How about that, huh? And here he is calling people cranks who know the law better than he does.
Because of the school they went to? How very elitist of you, Greg. Dear God, I can't believe you're siding with the elites. These disgusting elites. So you're saying the elite institutions do matter, and somebody with sort of a blue-collar law degree in Indiana is just some fucking okie compared to these people, and you should just bow to them, because if they went to these schools, they are better than you. They just are. Greg Kelly subscribes to the Anna Kasparian rule of legal diplomas.
Something else about him has come through for years now, but especially in this book. The self-righteousness, and I'm a Christian. He's a Christian.
Wouldn't you like to be a Christian too? Be a Christian, drink this. It's holy water. It was a trick.
We
pray, marriage. If what brings us together, we before the Lord, and He will
carry ourselves differently.
Oh, do you? How do you carry yourself? How do you carry yourself, Greg? Tell me how a Christian should behave. You bearer of false witness, worshiper of false idols, fuckhead. Tell me what Christians should truly gather around, brethren. Gather around, Christians. Brother Greg is going to explain to us all how we should walk in the light of the Lord. You know, like a good judgmental Christian.
There's a space for this, I know, but it seems a little much to me. Take a look.
There's a space for this, but it seems a little much.
As my staff was making its way toward the Senate floor, Tim asked, "Is there anything we can do for you?" I had met him when he was a young state legislator in South Carolina. He had come to an event where I was speaking and said he wanted to meet me, as he was a fellow conservative and a Christian. I have taken great satisfaction seeing his deserved rise through the House and Senate. "Pray for me," I said. "You want to pray now?" Tim asked. At that, my staff said, "Sir, we don't have time. The senators are all in their seats waiting for you." I smiled and said, "There's always time for prayer." And so we all bowed our heads as Tim appealed to heaven to help us finish that trying day. I will always be grateful for that moment of grace.
Well, okay.
What a big Christian phony, am I right? I mean, what performative prayer. Look, the nerve, and who's this fucking Tim guy? Do we even know? I've never even heard of this dude before. And they want to pray there and then. Like, what Christians do this?
Okay, it's January 6th. This is about the 6th or 7th public prayer he's conducted. I have prayed in public before.
He's hit paraded in public before. Have you? You've hit play in public before? Really? What were you listening to? Hold on. I got to jump over here to this guy. You hit what?
Moment of grace.
Yeah.
Well, okay. It's January 6th. This is about the 6th or 7th public prayer he's conducted. I have prayed in public before.
Hip play, play, play. I've hip played and hip home. Good night, sweetheart. I've hip played many times. Lord, we gather here in your flaming buttons, so that we may proud geflabend hobo, and say unto the people, "Hear the herger," and flail into our glorbus urban, Efleber, let us all have plated Hoffen.
But I think, quite frankly, in the middle of the action, that's Senator Tim Scott that he's talking to. Even his staff is like, "We gotta go."
Look, all right, Mr. Jesus, Okay, we have shit on the earth plane. Come on. Wrap it up. By the way, I'd like to remind you that Greg Kelly is always shitting on Biden for saying, I'm going to get in trouble if I stick around, because he means his staff is like, sir, we got a schedule. We got to stick to the schedule. He's like, he jokingly says that because nobody's actually pulling his strings. And yet this fucker thinks that, his staff should be like, look, we know you're Mr. Jesus, but can you, Jesus Christ. Ugh.
It's a little bit much. A little much.
Yeah, it's a little bit much for the Greg Kellys of the world.
Then there's this. He's in the basement, and he's
cut to
making phone calls
2 minutes later
to all kinds of people.
Over the next few hours, I spoke to the acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher C. Miller.
Yeah, can't you just call one person and then just wait? God.
And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, both of whom assured me that the National Guard had been mobilized and would be on the scene shortly. I spoke to the acting Attorney General, Jeffrey A. Rosen, and his staff about additional Justice Department personnel that I was told were already on the scene, with more to come. And I talked to the chief of the Capitol Police, Stephen A. Sund, who gave me an update on the riots.
If Greg Kelly goes off on Mike Pence's phone bill, that's the taxpayer paying for this phone bill. If this guy who calls himself allegedly the vice president, spending our tax dollars running up a cell, I mean, he was, I mean, who knows if there was like hypothetically a cell tower was out and he was getting roaming charges, huh? Ugh.
And the lengths his officers were going to secure the Capitol.
So he's calling everybody from the Pentagon to the DOJ to the chief, everybody's getting briefed about everything, and he's letting them know information. You know who he's not calling? The President of the United States. Why not?
He did.
I mean, what could the president do at that point? Did he need him? He never called. But he has helped perpetuate this notion that Donald Trump was somehow asleep at the switch.
No. He had his arm on the switch, making sure it stayed exactly where the fuck it was. Asleep at the switch.
And this is what the January 6th committee has been driving. Donald Trump just sat there and didn't call anybody. Well, nobody called him.
Yeah, how was he supposed to know? He finished his speech. He got in one of the SUVs. He tried to choke out one of the Secret Service guys. They laughed it off, of course, because he has teensy tiny little hands and they have big necks. And they took him back to the White House. He had like 9 fillet of fishes and fell asleep in front of the TV. It was an early evening. Nobody even rang him. How was he supposed to even fucking know? He didn't watch the news.
But that's not how they tell the story, is it?
He placed no call to any element of the United States government to instruct that the Capitol be defended. He did not call his Secretary of Defense on January 6th. He did not talk to his Attorney General. He did not talk to the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah, well, they didn't call him first, okay? He's the president. He fields calls, okay? He doesn't, what do you want him to do? Lead?
President Trump gave no order.
He was leading all morning. He was exhausted. He pulled his leading muscle, in the afternoon.
To deploy the National Guard that day. And he made no effort to work with the Department of Justice to coordinate and deploy law enforcement assets. But Vice President Pence did each of those things.
Explain.
Sounds like a conspiracy to me, right? It really does.
They left him out of the phone tree. It's like when you're in a subdivision and everybody's making brownies and yet Marge never gets a phone call. Why doesn't Marge get a phone call? She's got nuts. She's got sugar. She's got flour. She's got Hershey's, not chips, but she's got a lot of the bars. She could chop those up, put them together. She could be a part of the process. She has saran wrap. She doesn't even have to be part of the baking thing since her oven is on the fritz again. She could just help. You could just bring them over and they rise on her. She's got a really big kitchen table. But they didn't call her. Sure, she had screamed at everyone and told them to go fuck themselves, and that if they did let her participate in their brownie baking, she'd strangle them, but even if they did, but they still could have called.
They're making all the phone calls, but no one's calling Donald Trump, huh? And now they give Mike Pence this hero status, right? There he is in the basement. Oh boy, there's a riot just a few feet away. And there he is, calling everybody except the president. Why is that?
Because Trump started it and wasn't helping. Everybody was reaching out because Kevin McCarthy was already on the phone with him, because Jim Jordan was already on the fucking phone with him, because his son Don Jr. was already on he was texting. Mark Meadows was talking to him. They were all trying to talk him into actually making a video address, and he was dragging his fucking feet. They actually had to solve the problem.
Also, in the book, you know what he doesn't do?
Give a blueprint on how to build a gallows.
Question, how the hell January 6th happened? What about the security failures? What about the little cop who was encouraging everybody to come on up, step right into the Capitol? Those two the line of police officers who just stood there as people walked by.
Again, this is where they decided they could save everybody on this side. They'd secured the back of the building. Everybody was coming in on, I believe it's the east side of the building, or west side of the building, rather. The west side of the building, folks, could come in and be directed. The only doors that would open at that point that they couldn't double secure would be on this side, and would funnel those fuckers right back out onto the street. So they were like, let them through and they'll think they can go someplace, and then they'll go this way.
By almost like they were greeting the people.
And yes, because they were lube. They were trying to get them through that tube and out the other side, like shit through some grease through a 10-year-old goes.
How about the 3 Capitol Hill cops who walked away, just took a coffee break at the moment of truth, just before?
Is that what they did? They took a coffee break, or were they unarmed, unshielded, and they were protecting a barricaded wall and under threat? And they had a choice. They could stand there and open fire on people, or they could step away. And by the way, I love how it's like, notice how they stepped away just as the rioters decided to breach through. Not the rioters decided after the cops moved, even though the door had been barricaded, and those cops were like, okay, it's barricaded now. They're not going to make it through. Never thinking these assholes would actually smash the glass and crawl through like Ashley Babbitt did. And there was an armed guard on the other side who'd already warned them that they'll be shot if they go through. Those guys got out of the way. They figure they need us someplace else.
Before Ashley Babbitt was shot, these guys go off, and all hell breaks loose. No, Mike Pence doesn't go there at all. He just, it's like reading the January 6th Commission, a transcript of it.
It's not that good.
And then he just thanks everybody. You're a leader.
You're like a dick. You don't thank people. Leaders don't thank people. They go, you're welcome. Suck my dick. That's what you say at the end. It's basically the leader's dedication. This book is dedicated to everybody who knows how good my dick tastes. Ha ha ha. That's how you open a book, right, Greg? Jesus, what a fucking chump.
Supposed to ask questions, difficult questions sometimes, and he's
well. I have a question.
He's in a position to get some answers, but he doesn't.
Thanks to the swift efforts of U.S. Capitol Police, federal, state, and local law enforcement, the violence was quelled, the Capitol is secured, and the people's work continues. And we will always be grateful to the men and women who stayed at their posts to defend this historic place.
Is he grateful for Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who shot and killed an unarmed woman?
Yes, because prove to me she was unarmed, fucko. She assaulted another person, climbed through the fucking window when she knew there was an armed guard and the door was barricaded and he was protecting people who were on the other side of that door. What's in her backpack? We had 2 pipe bombs dropped off the day before. What was on her side? Did she have a sidearm? Could you see her sidearm? What about the knife she had? She had a big fucking knife. Oh, she didn't? How do you know? Now you find out after you frisk her when everybody else comes through after her, because you didn't do anything about it when she came through, while they're still clearing staff out and she fucking stabs one of them to death. That's a great idea. How about this? Anybody, I guess Greg is trying to tell everyone, and this is, I'm assuming from what he's saying, is that if you ever show up at Greg Kelly's house chanting that you want to murder someone inside his house, and you kick in the windows and you crawl through, he's not going to do anything. Castle doctrine does not apply. Even if he warns you, he's not going to do anything. So if you want to go to Greg Kelly's apartment, just kick in the door and go on in, I guess, because that's his standard. And by the way, as long as if you have a weapon, he can't see it until you're already through the window. So just hold it behind your back. Just crawl through it with one hand or whatever, and then put your hand like this before you open fire on him, I guess. That's the theory? Anybody with a backpack? There's no way there could be in there. I mean, they had metal detectors that everybody was going around when they came in, so they should know what she has on her, right?
Ashley Babbitt, her name isn't even mentioned in
Yes, there's an appendix called Fuck Around and Find Out.
Mike Pence's book. How about that? I do know.
By the way, it's abundantly clear that Greg Kelly has a weird fixation on Ashley Babbitt, that this is like the wife he never had or could never have.
This, Mike Pence has absolutely no future in national politics.
Oh, so just like Trump. So the whole ticket is doomed.
I hope he enjoys Indiana.
By the way, that's on the way out the door, that's a fuck you to Indiana, in case you don't know. Indiana's a little chump state, according to Greg Kelly, because, you got these pissant little law schools. You got local radio. Fuck you, farmland, according to Greg Kelly. You want to be special? Go to a Philadelphia or a New York elite school. Go to Harvard. Go to Yale. Go to Chicago. You fucking Indiana. Get the fuck out of here with your Indiana. Every learning institution there just teaches you how to be an inbred Okie. That's the whole thing? Christ almighty. Just it's fun watching him be that miserable. But, by the way, you're watching How Sparks Make a Worldwide. I didn't pick that clip of Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly picked that clip. Or actually, and then Donald Trump posted it because he liked the fuck you to Mike Pence. Now, not some of Greg's best work. One of our biggest laughs at Greg's expense